Good morning, good morning. Man, y'all listen. I got my phone right here in my hand and my tablet in the other. I'm just prepared to give a testimony this morning. I got a call from a prophetess. She saw a comment that I put on the page of a video that I saw on her page, and it was about uh, I think a baby and a young lady that might have got slanged in a car in the middle of traffic. It was a situation that was just uncalled for. And I was listening to her conversation outside of that particular scene with some young men. And the young men were so convinced about how the streets was, about how the streets are very dangerous and you got to be strapped up. You got to keep it on you. You got to make sure you protect yourself. I mean, and the prophetess asked the young man, did he believe in God? And the young man said, yes, he believes in God. But at the same time, you still got to be prepared. Well, let me tell you something. I know if any of you is watching this that y'all probably know me. If you do know me, then you know my story. A part of this I have told and a part of this I haven't told. And for those that don't know me, this will be the first time that you will hear part of this story. I come out the streets. You know what I'm saying? I come from a very wicked part of the streets where you will get killed real quick. I mean, I it there were people after me and there were people out to kill me and they wanted to do things to me. You know what I'm saying? And I lived like that and I stayed in a place where everybody knew where I stayed at. So I was always in the midst of danger. I've had guns pointed at me, shot at me. I've been shot. Um, people put me in harm's way. It was always a time where I felt like there is no possible way that I was gonna ever be able to leave that life. Like, how was I gonna be able to leave that life? A lot of people was like, you gotta get out of town or whatever. You gotta get off from around here in order for you to survive. But God didn't allow me to leave. He didn't allow me to leave the area that I was in because it was something that he was doing in me. And I had to persevere through that suffering part of my life. And he put me in a place that I had to realize that I was gonna have to choose him regardless. I didn't have a choice. I was gonna have to choose him in every way. I was gonna have to choose him in feeling afraid to live. I was gonna have to choose him in somebody trying to take my life. So at the point, me being able to be approached by someone that was trying to take my life, I said, Lord, I'm gonna put it all in your hands. If you want me to die, you made me, and I was made for you. I was put here for you. So if it's your will that I die and I leave here like that, Lord, let it be. Because I don't need to be here if you don't want me here, Lord. I don't need to be living in this world if I have to walk around and I gotta be afraid of what's gonna happen to me next. God said, I will provide for you. And I'm gonna give you some scriptures because these scriptures stood out. He said in 2 Corinthians 12:9, he said, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. See, at my most weakest moment when I felt like I wasn't gonna be able to survive whatever somebody was gonna come at me because I'm by myself. You know what I'm saying? I walked away from the street life, so nobody had my back out there like that. You know what I'm saying? I had to give it in. I wasn't going to be able to say that I got to carry a gun to protect myself because it was only going to be so far as that gun was going to take me. Because regardless of the fact, I don't care. You can have 100 guns. That if it's your time to go and God wants you to go, guess what? You gonna go. You know what I'm saying? You can't protect yourself and can't nobody protect you. You can have 100 alarms, you can have 1,000 cameras around your house watching everything that's going on around you, but it's still not gonna help you survive. But I tell you something. I'm going to give you another scripture. Psalms 46:1 said, God is our refuge and our strength, a very present help in trouble. He did not design us. He did not design us to ball up when trouble came to us. He designed us to stand up in the midst of fear, to stand out when it was time to, that it didn't matter. See, God stood in the midst of fear. When they came to take him, he stood up. He was ready to die for what he believed in. And you have to be ready to die for what you believe in. If you really believe in God, you got to be ready to go for it at any given moment. You can't be afraid. You cannot be afraid of whatever that is out there to overcome you. See, Philippians 4:13 said, I can do all things through Christ, which strengthened me. Who strengthens me? See, he strengthened me. He said if he gave you something in a book, now I'm going to tell you something now. There's a lot of people that's prone to not believe what these scriptures can say. Know what I'm saying? But I'm not here to detest who created the Bible. I'm not here to detest who made the Bible. I'm not here to even sit here and say, hey, that Bible is wrong. Who wrote it is wrong. Who put it in it? Let me tell you something. I have tried these scriptures. I have come from a place where I didn't have nothing else left in me. And y'all got to understand what I'm saying. I ain't had nowhere else to go. I didn't have nothing else to do. I depended on the very words that was coming up out of that book. And I vowed to hold myself to them. And I vowed to keep myself confided in them. They are the reason why I survived, because his spirit lives in them words. And you got to believe that. You cannot call out on these words and not have that spirit in you. The very spirit of him live within those words. If you take them words and you put them in your heart, you hide them in your heart, and you hide them within your mind, and you dwell on them, and you live in them, and you walk in them, you have to believe in them. You can't believe in somebody carrying a gun and somebody holding a gun to your head telling you that they're going to kill you right now if you don't do what they say. You cannot believe that. Don't you think Jesus went through that same temptation? He had to endure that same temptation where somebody was standing up against him, telling him that they was going to kill him if he didn't bow or he didn't say what they wanted him to say. He still refused it. He stayed with God. He stayed in the word. He stayed living on the word. He stood on the word. And now he is the glorification of why we survive today. See, if you don't believe me, you got to believe in this word to death. Psalm 16:8 said, I have set the Lord always before me, because he is at my right hand. I will not be shaken. Isaiah 40:29 said, he gives power to the weak and strength to the powerless. 2 Thessalonians 3:3 said, but the Lord is faithful, and he will strengthen and protect you from the evil one. He didn't sit around and just come up with this stuff. This is stuff that people wrote that they were going through in their life. They were dealing with things just like you were dealing with things in their life. And they wrote this stuff, and this stuff helped them to survive. Let me tell you something. You have to have this in order to soar in the afterlife. You got to have this in order to soar. Your heart has to be free. Your mind has to be free of fear, of pain, of suffering, of sorrows. I didn't say that you had to escape it. He will give you power to persevere it. You will persevere in the midst of it. I didn't say you were going to escape it, but you got to have the strength to survive it. But you got to go through it in order to survive it. It's not just going to bypass you because you have God and you say, I got God, so it won't never happen to me because I got him. No, that's not what he's saying. He's saying, I will give you the strength and I will stand with you I will stand beside you. I will stand in you in the midst of it, is what he is saying. First Chronicles 16:11 says, seek the Lord and his strength and his face continually. You got to make sure that you seek him at all times. You can't take your attention off of him. Your attention is what you believe in. And if you have any kind of fear, that means all of your 100% potential is not on him. It's not on him. If the fear stands, it's because it's not in him. See, he did not give you a spirit of fear. He did not allow us to be fearful. He allowed us to be subject, but not fully fearful in everything that we have. Now, sometimes fear is required to protect yourself from things that God has already told you about. So fear keeps you in line. Fear in God keeps you in line, not of the evil one. Let me get that correct. Fear in God keeps you in line, and it protects you from things that you don't want to have anything to do with. His fear in him keeps you from that. Fear in the evil one keeps you from God's will. Let me tell you something. Romans 8:28, and we know that in all things God works. Now let me say that again. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him. He works for the good of those who love him. He didn't say he works for those that run to him when trouble comes. He didn't work for those that depend on him in their convenient moments. He didn't work for those that ask to escape a problem, but he worked for the good of those that love him. You got to love him at moments where everything is going good in your life. You got to love him when it's not convenient for you. You got to love him when things is going bad. It said, who have been called according to his purpose. See, God has called you. He has called you to be something here. See, where we are sadly mistaken in is we don't know who we are. We don't value who we are. We have to value who we really are. For you to value who you really are, you have to know who you really are. You have to know who God has made you to be. Now, if he gave you this kind of power, then he gave you a reason to fight for it to survive in you. See, this power just not going to come about when you speak it out. You got to believe in it. And all part of your being, your spirit, your soul, and your body has to believe in it. But you have to believe in this. You have to believe in it in your spirit first. And believe it in your spirit. Now you ask, why is it so necessary for us to believe it in our spirit? Because in your spirit, it will surpass your flesh. See, believing in something in the flesh, at the minute it happened, you will drop it all. See, everything goes out the window when trouble comes. You don't believe in the spirit if everything goes out the window. See, when you believe in the spirit, when the trouble comes, you're going to stand in it. You're going to stand in it. It's going to be what you're going to be confided in. You're going to confide in the very power of the spirit. You know what I'm saying? When all else fails, you're going to depend on the spirit. You're going to depend on God. That's when he's rooted in you. And when he's rooted in you, ain't nothing is going to come against you. It said, God said in Philippians 4 chapter and 11 verse, now that I speak from want, for I have learned to be content in whatever circumstances I am. I know how to get along with humble means. I also know how to live in prosperity. In any and every circumstance, I have learned the secret of being filled and going hungry, both having abundance and suffering need. I can do all things through him who strengthens me. See, you got to believe in the spirit in every way. for him to be able to strengthen you. Because if you believe in the Spirit, your heart will believe in it. If your heart believes in it, your body will believe in it. Your physical being will believe in it, and you will start to walk in it. Man, may God bless you and God keep you.